Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We are about to embark on what I just know is going to be a delightful conversation with friends. I've known Almi Clementi since I was 15 years old. Almi Clerkin now.
Yes.
But you were Clementi.
I was,
when
yeah.
you were 15, and or you were 14 and I was 15.
Right.
And we met Shawn when I was 19 and he was 18.
Right. I jumped into Gannon with you at that time. Yeah, that's right.
So Father Shawn and Almi Clerkin are our guests here to talk about the arts and just whatever else, Erie, and you know, again, I wanted to make that full disclosure that we've known these guys so long, and actually worked with Shawn a little bit when I was adjunct at Gannon.
Right.
And you were running the theater department. I mean,
Right.
a lot of years.
These intersections are actually kind of wonderful, and one of the things that happens whenever there's a change in the years, right? I mean, we're now. Can you believe it's 2025?
It's
I mean,
amazing,
I keep pinching myself, saying
Unbelievable.
I remember thinking 2025 is so far in our future that I probably not going to see it, but now here we are living it.
Yeah, this is not this is not one that was on my bingo card. I thought about 2000.
Not
never,
at all.
Not much beyond that.
Not
I
at
said
all.
that to Shawn yesterday. We were talking about it. And I said, I'm going to be 36 in 2000, right? That was the goal.
Wow.
Right, that was the time. Right, and then it's all been downhill since then.
Right. You know, in the Catholic Church, I had Bishop Persico on just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wonderful.
And this is the year of Jubilee again. And I remember when I was 12 and the year of Jubilee was in 1975.
How about
And of
that?
course, we're on the third one of my lifetime. That's kind of
amazing.
scary.
A lot of jubilees going on in your lifetime. You know,
Exactly.
It'd be great if we actually embrace them as much as we're invited to. You know, I mean,
That's true.
that sense of renewal, that sense of reinvesting, and whatever it is that we're doing. I've just noticed that the cameras are on, and I always said that, you know, I love radio because it doesn't matter how you look. And whether I'm shaved or not, and I'm going,
But welcome to
we're
2025,
streaming.
and everything is on a camera.
Even radio.
Even
is
radio's on a
visual.
camera.
But hold on. I just looked at the screen, and I thought that was me, and it's Shawn.
Well, that's the other thing that happens
Yeah.
because we're celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary this
Unreal.
year, which is also completely unreal. And they say you begin to resemble your spouse, and so
Sorry.
I mean it's to the point where I'm about ready to wear a girdle. I guess maybe I probably should have been ready a couple of years ago, but it is kind of bizarre to see ourselves from
Well,
behind.
and some people have asked us if we're brother and sister.
because we resemble each other
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you share your love story? Seriously.
Oh, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's also. I saw Almi on stage when I was a freshman at Gannon. This is back in 1980.
Yeah.
Well, it was 81, fall of 81.
Sure.
And I looked up on stage, and she was dancing with Deb Ireland at that time. And they were in a production of Lysistrata that her father had
That's
directed.
right,
It was
yes.
hysterically funny. And I looked at her, and I went, oh, my gosh, she is the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life.
But I was playing a boy.
Well, she was,
So-
but she was still. But
because my dad was foretelling the story
exactly,
through dance.
and exactly.
So-
But she was beautiful. They were beautiful,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
at that moment. And I remember thinking, wow, I hope I get to meet her some point in time during my 4 years while I was there. And then, of course, then in the spring we had those liberal studies classes, and they used to have something called Introduction to Liberal Studies with Mr. Regis Martin was our teacher, and Almi came in late, which is kind of, if you know Almi, she's always late. She's always
Are you
late for
sure?
something. Yeah, really, it's kind of one of your signatures. And so I'm sitting there, and the only seat is between me and the professor, right in the very front of the. It was a seminar conversation, like a big table, and she comes in, sits down, and went, "Oh, it's her." That's her. And I pursued her. I'm Shawn. It's nice to meet you. Hi, what's your name again? Oh, it's Shawn. I'm still Shawn. When I introduced myself to you last week. And so finally we got cast in Jesus Christ Superstar is what we were doing. Larry Kaiser was in that. Almi's
Again,
brother
all
Sal.
these
Monica
names,
Lewis.
Monica Lewis had her
yeah.
musical debut at that time,
That's it.
which is kind of bizarre because now she's mainlining here in Erie, and we got cast in the show. I was pledging a fraternity at the time, the Pi Kappa Alpha Social Fraternity, the Epsilon Upsilon chapter,
Sounds like a mistake.
I
doesn't
can
it?
also say the Greek alphabet 3 times on a match. In case I had to.
By the way, that was always impressive to me that you were a fraternity brother, but also this theater major. They don't usually go together.
And they really didn't at the time. I mean, they were really kind. I think they kept me on as their token liberal arts kind of guy. I mean, they were all at that time. They were all engineers and pre-med.
Yeah. Oh,
at the
wow.
time. I mean, that's who
Okay.
they were at the time. And so
Wow.
I was I was their token. Their token liberal at the time. Right. And so there I was. So I invited her to go to this party, this fraternity formal, and I thought she had a miserable time.
I did not.
And she did not.
No, I did not. I just didn't drink, so
Yeah.
we thought
And
that
it's
that was part of
fraternity,
it.
yeah.
And and we danced a little bit, but that was fun.
And I kept saying, "Do you want to dance?" She said, "Oh, I only dance if it's choreographed." And I went, "Well, that's. I don't know that we
Well,
can.
that's
But
true.
we're not going to have much dancing here."
That is so much your villa girl thing
Yes,
coming out,
yeah,
isn't it?
nuance.
Yeah.
Yes, the villa nuance.
But Peggy Schneider, Laughlin, and Wayne Chittle, they also went. Wayne was a fraternity brother, so the 4 of us went together. It was a lot
we
of fun.
double dated at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh
right.
my God.
And then, of course, after that, we just kind of resolved that we were in love. Well, at least I was in love, and she. But Almi always said to me, I
Poor
say
Shawn.
it. I have no filter now. I had no filter then.
Right.
The first time, our first day, I'm like, I love you. I just love everything about you. I love your voice. I love your style. I love the way you just are always straightforward. And she'd look at me and go, I really enjoy you. And I'm like, and then our second date, I love you. I think you're wonderful. And she's like, I really think you're fun. But she wouldn't say, I love you. So then after we had been dating for about 3 or 4 months, I finally said, why won't you say you love me? And she said, I've never said it, and I'm not going to say it until I know I can say it and mean it. And I went,
Now that sounds like me, right?
totally. And I was like, oh my God, I love that about you.
Right,
And so, I mean, it was just one more reason for me. But that was,
Yeah.
where we started. And that was,
And
that
we
was
hung out.
pretty
We were
much it.
friends first, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it
Tom
was,
Ryan, Margie Klein,
Terry Bowen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a
You-
great crew.
Joel.
This
Yeah.
is you were probably still in elementary school at the time.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think she was born yet.
I know. I
Were
hope
you?
she was.
I was about
No.
I'm about 15 years behind Joel, right?
Oh, that's right. Right. Oh, yeah.
She has she lives in a parallel universe, but just 15 years younger.
15 years behind Joel.
But basically did everything that I did. Yeah.
Or maybe
that's
she's
right.
maybe she's 15 years of fixing all of your mistakes.
It could be.
She's just
yeah,
sweeping
yeah.
up after
That
you.
could be.
Absolutely. That happens currently. That's for sure. I mean, you wouldn't even say this is a typical Erie story, but it is one of the stories where Erie wins because Shawn, you're not from here, right?
But I'm always anchored here.
You're always
I mean,
anchored
even
here.
now as I'm serving at several churches down in the Venango and Crawford County area, I'm still anchored in Erie.
Right.
I would
Right.
say that that my primary residence is here. However, I'm living there at the
Sure.
moment. And when I retire from that, which is nowhere soon, but at some point in time, I'll come back to Erie. I think this is what I consider.
But this
my
is
hometown.
this is the beauty of what Gannon and Mercier's and Edinburgh. I mean, we
Absolutely.
capture these amazing talents, these great minds.
Yes. Right.
And it's like Velcro. And of course, having the Villa girl for your wife doesn't
gosh.
hurt.
Well,
you know how many Villa girls have brought their guys back to Erie?
Absolutely. And they are so connected, and they're so supportive of everything that happens here. And that's true about the graduates of all the local high schools.
Correct. Yes.
Both the Catholic schools and also the private schools and also the public schools. When you're a part of Erie, that you make that commitment and you stay there. I mean, and it's the kind of thing that I really like about Erie. We were just talking to our server and a young woman over here in one of the restaurants downtown, and she said, I tried to go someplace else, and I kept finding myself coming back to Erie, and I realized that this is really my hometown. And I said, for many people, Erie is a great place to live, although they're not sure if they'd ever want to visit there, although I think there's a lot of people who come here to visit as well. And I think we sell ourselves short, by saying that we're not that kind of place. But I think we absolutely are, because I think more than half of us now choose to be here. We're not here by default. We're here by design, and we love the city, and we love what it has to offer. We love even the snow, and we love the summers, and we love the festivals, and we just love the Erie. It's just kind of a wonderful place to be.
Almi, talk about, I think there's something about what Shawn just said as far as when you're from here or very well connected here, there is some empowerment that goes on. Like, you ran for mayor.
I did.
That takes some chutzpah, right? I mean, it is a risky thing.
It is.
It is an exhaustive thing. It's an emotionally intense deal. But there's a can-do-ness that you had to do that.
Yeah, and it was purely because I had a few people mention to me, you could consider this and do this. And it was a great experience. And it was fun because I worked and was side by side with 9 people running, right? As a total for that primary. And it was, you want to make Erie, do everything you can for your hometown. So that's why I did it. That's why I tried for it. And really, we were only involved for about 8 months. But I said, we're going to raise so much money, right? Because I can't believe how much is spent on campaigns. Right. And we did that, and we stopped after that.
Is that right?
And we got to know the other people. And even Mayor Schember, he was at an event the other day. Oh, no, I was given platelets, which I do every 2 weeks.
Okay. Good for you.
And they had something going on. TV channels were there and all that stuff. And he was over where people give the whole blood. And he waves at me, and then he comes over and says hello to me, So those friendships, too, started and formed there, too. But, yeah, you love your hometown. You want to do what you can. You think you can do it. And you hope other people think you can do it, and they support you.
Well, the proven track record was from your executive experience at the Playhouse as executive director.
Right. I don't know that most people. I mean, we all do theater sitting here around this table. So the skills involved in doing theater and collaborating and being a part of it, I would share that with people. I just don't think they got it. Because it just, theater, you're just up there singing and dancing or talking,
Oh my gosh.
It's, I don't want to say most people don't understand that, but it's a tough hobby, right?
It's like, you think about like putting on a wedding on steroids every night. You know how like a bride goes nutso?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to put on an event and they're not event planners.
And instead of 12 people in the wedding party, you've got 700. It's just this massive thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Well, and I just want to say something really complimentary toward Almi. Almi's known as a taskmaster. She holds people to the same standards she holds herself to.
Sure.
And which is always wonderful. But our very first event during the campaign was up at
Mercier University.
The People of Faith, right? And they were all invited there, and they were drawing names to see who gets to speak first. And Almi was the first one called, and she got up and she just thanked all the women and all the people of faith who were there supporting us. And then she said, and I'm so honored to be standing here amongst all of these people. And she went down the line and said why each person on that stage, regardless of party, regardless of experience, would make an excellent mayor. The day after the election, one of the other individuals who was not elected called her, and he said, I'll just give a gender away, but they said, Almi, you changed the entire campaign. We were all ready to go back and forth at each other, but when you started with that absolute positivity, they said we couldn't jump on the bandwagon and just pick on each other and insult each other. All of a sudden, we had to really talk about how we were going to solve things. And they said, you have no idea how you changed the tenor of that campaign. And it was just that one night, and I remember sitting there thinking, wow, this is so not what we see in these kind of campaigns and political competitions. What we saw there was somebody who wanted to see the best from everybody.
That's it.
Yeah, and she set that bar really high.
Well, and she's an impressive enough person that it made me into a Democrat. I changed my registration so I could vote for Almi Clerkin.
Oh, that's
Thank
hysterical.
you, Joel. You're
and
awesome.
Joel and I left the Democratic Party at the end of the campaign.
Shawn and Almi Clerkin are with us here, and it's been my absolute pleasure to come under your tutelage this year.
It was
come
a
back to the
blast.
theater and do nicely Johnson and Guys and Dolls under your
gosh.
direction.
You hit the stage, and I don't think I stopped laughing for the whole entire evening. Joel, you were
And it
so
wasn't
good.
the Red Sox or the pink
No,
Sox.
it was
What color
you.
were
I
the
had
Sox?
Red Sox, yes,
Oh,
yeah.
you were so funny.
You were
and
so
it was
funny.
so good to see you on stage again. It really was.
What I mean, honestly, I just could not believe that I was cast, because I mean that's a pretty decent role.
It's a
5
big role.
songs,
Yeah.
a solo, the showstopper, right? That's
Right.
supposed to be what Sit Down, You Rockin' the Boat is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it was so cool. What a joy to do.
It was
that.
a nice group of people.
Absolutely.
And we went through a couple different, remember Pat?
Yes.
Pat Thiem got sick, and he and Kate were playing the leads, and then we had to get 2 new people to come in, but it felt really good. It
Yeah.
felt like that was a group that could do it and did do it. It was a lot of fun.
And yeah, hats off to Jason Lowergren
Yeah.
and
Rachel, right,
Rachel,
yeah.
they pinched hit and did an amazing job.
It was just great. Yeah, and it was nice to see. So many of the golden era musicals you kind of look at from a contemporary lens, and you sit there and go, I don't know, it's a little misogynistic, it's a little sexist, but what's nice is you can address that in how you put it on the stage. You don't have to make everyone an object. They can be the subject of their own stories.
Right.
And so Adelaide, for example,
Right.
it's very easy for her to become kind of just a pretty face and pretty everything else. But in this production, the way that it came to life, it was so much more than that, and I appreciated seeing that. You didn't have to change the lines, you didn't have to cut anything, you didn't have to change the music. You just simply do it from our perspective, and it's wonderful to see those shows stand up.
Well, and the actors are smart enough to do that. So
Right.
Leah Johnson, who played
Leah Johnson.
Adelaide,
Oh,
came
yeah.
in
Just
with,
with dynamite.
and she's just a strong.
She was an
person
empowered woman,
anyway.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she owned it. She owned
did.
every moment of it.
Yeah.
And Ken Falkenhagen as Nathan Troy, he just tickled me.
Yeah.
He was so good. Oh my gosh.
He had that effect on a lot of people. Yeah, he's a tickler. He's a tickler from way back.
I think the greatest compliment I got, though, is when you're out in the audience after the show, and like the season ticket holders, it's usually women a little bit older than me, and they're gushing over you, and you're like, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah.
so we hit the mark, right?
Right.
You entertained them, and you did.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, and bringing this show, because a lot of people have not seen it. There are
It's been
generations.
20 years or
There've been
so.
generations
25.
that have not seen it. Same thing with Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
It's been 2 decades, I think, since the last time. Almost 2 decades.
Which is bizarre to me because it's so much a part of our lives.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the film and everything. Yeah.
Right. So it was thrilling to work on that show, and I should have been born during the golden age of musicals.
should
I'm
have,
pretty
yeah.
sure.
That was your
so
time.
those are the shows I really really enjoy doing, and Shawn will go to anything and see everything. I'm just like, oh, it's not Guys and Dolls. I'm not going.
Her first question whenever we say, let's go see this, she says, does anybody die in it? I don't want to see anything where people die.
Right.
And I don't mean because they're bad actors.
No. Because we've all died on stage.
I
before.
must say,
I'm
I was
not-
worried about Sweeney Todd, but I needed to go see with Jason,
Yes.
I mean, I'm not sure I really like that show, but I love those performances.
I agree with you. You know what? I'm reading I'm working on a production of Into the Woods right now, so I'm reading up on my Sondheim interviews. And he said, you've got to remember, Sweeney Todd is funny. It's a melodrama. It's supposed to be produced as funny. It's not supposed to be horror or gothic. It's supposed to be melodrama. And I remember thinking that. And what I liked about that production is it had a seriousness to it. But Jason and Devin also brought out the humor.
Devin Yates was awesome.
You know, and you almost need that humor in order to get through. These are people who are literally eating each other, right? so I mean, it's, if you can't find the humor, then why are you there? You know,
it does make when I saw kind of the notes and the origination of that play, and I'm like, who in their right mind is saying, I'm going to take this, this paperback from the mid 1800s and make it into a Broadway show?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Stephen
It's like,
Sondheim.
huh?
Yes, yeah. I think our equivalent is like they're eating cats, they're eating dogs. I mean, it's one of those things where you sit there and go, how could this possibly be happening? Well, some things are allegorical too, which makes them true if not real. You know what I mean? And so part of Sweeney Todd, I think its appeal is that, number one, it's beautiful music, but it's got a message in there about how we treat one another.
Can I say something? Weigh in on this, Almi. The idea that, you know what, the Playhouse is over 100 years old or whatever, but those young actors, they're carrying the water very well.
They are.
I mean, I'm amazed at these 20-somethings, how good they are.
Yeah.
And
truly, if you think about it, most have been a part of theater or the Playhouse for their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it. They get to see it. Their parents bring, Janie's brought her daughters to the shows for years, right? Then they want to be in them. And they want to do that. What's very interesting is they forgot people, though, have done it before them. That happens a lot. What did someone say to you?
So many times. Well, Kate Thiem tells a story about working on Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Evita. She was Evita.
And Almi was there. They were doing a dance warm up, and she said, "Well, you're not all kicking the same way." And afterwards, she left the stage, and Kate overheard two of the girls going, "Oh my gosh, that stagehand just tried to tell me how to dance." And Kate said, "That's not just a stagehand. That's the woman who raised the money who paid for the stage that you're dancing on."
Okay. Now,
That's fabulous.
You age out, and if you take some time away, nobody knows who you are anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I didn't
which
mean
is
that.
good. That's how it's supposed to be.
I wasn't going there when I started talking about this.
Right. That's one of my favorite stories.
Oh, I know, it's a funny story, but I just think about, like, even our son Seamus. You know, when he was 6, he didn't want to do theater, but he was in the theater. Because we're at rehearsal, right? And that's the one thing I do like about theater, and this is one of my favorite things about theater, is how lucky we are to perform with such different age groups all the time.
I'm thinking about It's a Wonderful Life last year.
Yes.
Was just that whole thing.
Yes.
David Durst as
Yes.
Potter,
Yeah.
and all those young kids there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yes.
So
So I think that is fun, and when they do get to, even
Charlie was in it.
Yeah,
oh
when
my
I
God.
even think of like Mina Eisenberg or
Yes.
Jerry, Jerry, the funny one, Baker,
Jerry
and
Baker,
all
just
these
passed
people,
away. Yeah.
Marilyn Smith. I mean, you think about all these wonderful performers that came before us, and they took the load for a while and they passed it on to us to take it, and that's what's fun to see now is that the generations take it and take it for what it's worth as well, right? They don't abuse it; they take it and they use it, which is great. Which is great.
Yeah,
and the audiences, it's been a different feel this year. It's been a really different feel. And I said to Shawn, I said, the joy is back.
That's
think the joy is
fantastic.
back. So that's it.
Well, and I think it's also everybody's getting. We're gonna talk about the pandemic for years, and we're still too close to it to really look at it objectively. But I think as we come out of it further and further, we're going to start to appreciate both the sacrifices that we made during it in order to try to keep it under control, but also what was lost during that time and what we now have to restore and to re-energize. And so I think it's taken a long time, but all of the theaters are doing well right now. PAC is doing well.
That's great news.
Yes, wonderful.
And we've got to get All Enact back
Yes.
on their
That's
board
right.
soon.
Yes.
Right.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
We've got
know,
Father
he's
Shawn
scats.
Clerkin and Almi Clerkin are with us here on our Friday. Oh my God!
You should make one of my-
Do you do
I don't
do you go out and sing standards and
no.
whatever?
No, but he played Scat Mouse when he was in
I did
graduate
play
school
Scat
up
Mouse.
and down the East Coast.
Yes, I was the Scat Mouse who ran the jazz club in Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. And my scat, here's my problem with scat is I
Your
don't.
problem with
My problem
somebody
with
has a
scat
problem with scat.
Is I have to plan it ahead of time, so it's not really improvisational.
Right.
But I've also found that when I've tried to speak in tongues, from a religious perspective,
Right.
my speaking in tongues sounds like I'm scatting. I'll sit there and go za-ba-dee-da-ba-doo-da-ba-da-dee-ba, and it's like that's not speaking in tongues. You're doing Ella Fitzgerald. It's not. That is not.
Our son
I'm
had
not
to,
even going there.
our son had to scat in a Christmas show he was in.
He'd had
And
to
I said,
write it
"You
out
can-
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not.
We don't scat.
He doesn't
not-
scat.
we're not
He's not a
scatting.
scatter.
But that allows us to open up our view of performing arts in general
Yeah.
in Erie. I always want to think that we kind of punch above our weight. Even as population is decreasing, and we don't have those big corporations that used to cut a check. I had a recent conversation with a nonprofit leader, and it's like, I see that it's taking 5 different businesses to support this thing that you're doing here. Why is that? Wasn't there a day that just one dude would cut the check?
There was a time when you might have a single sponsor who would write enough to underwrite the entire production, but now we have to. I don't want to say nickel and dime because it's not nickel and dime. Now you have to
Right.
500 and 1,000. To cobble together what it costs, because the costs are I mean,
That's true, too.
The resources, the materials are so expensive. The licensing fees are more expensive now
Yeah,
than they ever
even
were.
before you get the actors on the
Yeah.
stage, it's
Right.
the cost of fortune.
Oh yeah, you'll spend $50,000 to $75,000 even before you start rehearsals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. And truly, though, there are some businesses in Erie, and the ones that I've seen, there are some that are giving a lot. I mean, they're
Yeah.
very supportive.
Absolutely.
They'll take the meeting, you know what I mean? They'll
Yeah.
figure out something that they can do for your organization. So you have to ask. You do have to ask. So, I mean,
Do these? I mean, I would imagine the young theaters don't have endowments, but the Philharmonic has an endowment. Did the Playhouse have a decent endowment?
I would say it's probably on the smaller side.
Okay.
It was when I was there.
Right.
On staff. But it is growing, but it's very hard to say to people, hey, can you help us pocket this money
even our
for the future,
universities
right?
are having a hard time
yeah.
building their endowments,
I
right?
mean, the old universities had the easier time, but even now, you want to have so much to fall back on in case you have to fall back. Like right now, they're all experiencing the enrollment cliff that they're all kind of gone
demographic
over.
cliff,
Right,
yeah.
and that everybody saw that coming, and some will survive, and some will find other solutions, or maybe close. But that's a reality of the situation. But if you have that endowment, then you have that security for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm thinking about the art museum. They've gone through significant change, and a couple different leaders. I feel like they have a solid leader now. I mean, we're concerned about these things because let's face it, some of these entities were born in a whole different era, a whole different opulence that Erie had. I mean, I think about the art museum was started from the art club, right?
Right.
These ladies that were there were wives of the industrialists, and they had the cash to go buy a Hassan, or
right.
I mean, it's
well, and
ridiculous.
you look at the regional assets; they're still
Right.
there. They're still
Yes.
there, right? So the support of those, because they're grounded in Erie and people believe in those organizations. So that's important. And then when new groups come to town, right, and they start their organizations. I mean, we had for Erie Gives Day over 500 nonprofits
Yep.
involved in our region, right? I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of groups. And, then I just remember the arts, when I was lucky enough to be at the Playhouse, they would say, well, can't you work together? Can't you do this together? But you're looking at ballet companies and theater
Right.
companies that have totally different missions from each other. Yes, it's ballet and yes, it's theater, but they're not the same. So a lot of that kind of work, too, also had to be done to educate people. And the regional asset process, I think, was successful to do that. So.
Yeah, I mean, how does an average Joe, though? I guess the Arts Council,
Erie Arts and Culture.
Erie Arts and Culture is probably a good way to funnel money that way.
Yeah.
Well, and they seem to be really targeting and trying to raise up new artists and new arts organizations intentionally. That they're trying to make sure that they get funding to launch new projects or new ideas. There's support there in terms of some background material and connections to what's happening on the
education,
Pennsylvania Arts and Culture.
Yeah, the education part. Casey Coratori is their interim director right now. And
Right.
the previous director that I happened to sit under the board, his goal was individual artists. And previous directors were the larger regional assets, right? So there are so many ways that you can support and lead and help these organizations or individuals succeed. So,
Yeah.
Casey's doing a great job.
Yeah, well, and one of the best things that everybody can do, regardless of whether you can write a check or not, is just go. Go to the museums, go to the installations, go to the dance performances, go to the theater performances, wherever they happen to be. Go to the music. Just get out and hear things.
Sure.
And that says a lot too, just by supporting it. I think too.
Well, the free things, Erie's known for. I mean,
Yeah,
don't people
there's
kind of
there's
talk
free
like that?
music every night in the summer.
There
right?
is. It seems to be, right. But what we found out was even if you raised a ticket price or if you even lowered a ticket price, sometimes people wouldn't come when you lowered them because it's like, oh, why would I go see something for $5? That's not going to be
value.
good.
They call it perceived
100%.
value.
Yeah.
It's like it's free. It must not be any good. No, it's free and it is good. Yeah. Those things are not
they're
usually
trying.
exclusive.
Yeah.
Do we see in the arts the same shortages of manpower that we're seeing in other industries? I'm interested in, is there still a steady stream of young people that want to perform?
It's interesting. One of the challenges at the Playhouse, again, when I was there, so I'm sorry to keep going back, but
Right.
that's, we should be going forward. But you have to pick shows that the actors also want to do. Not only the audience comes, but the actors want to do. So Shawn just is directing Into the Woods at the Academy Theater in Meadville. They had 70 people audition for
Good for you.
for 17 roles.
That's fantastic.
Because people want to do the show, right? Beauty and the Beast, same thing. I mean, you want to have, and Waitress coming up. At
Yeah,
the
they had a
Playhouse,
big
right?
one.
Big
Yeah,
turnout.
the one that's coming up, Prince of Egypt. They want. People are saying to me, "Oh, I want your brother." He goes.
Yeah.
Alan said, "He goes. I think I'm going to audition for that one." So it's the shows, and Joel too. That would be awesome.
Yes, it would.
The Natali brothers
Oh my
on
gosh,
stage.
you're already the Prince of Little Italy. That's right. Aren't you? Wasn't that your official title?
I was never had that title. Oh my God, I was the dweeb that played with Hot Wheels and read the phone book.
The Dweeb of Myrtle. Well, you guys
Yeah.
close to Myrtle.
18th and Myrtle. You totally remember.
That's right. I remember the
Absolutely.
house. I remember that.
Oh my
house.
gosh.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
hilarious.
Your house was awesome.
It was.
I mean,
Big honking house, yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And full, and it was always,
always
full.
Full and fun. Yeah. That's
Lots of
great.
spaghetti. Well, okay. Well, that is very encouraging because again, we're seeing this. It's hard to get that kid to come out from the basement from playing on their Twitch or Switch or whatever.
But you know what? They can do both. I mean, Seamus is a good example. He's a gamer, and he'll game for hours a day.
Yeah.
But he'll walk away from it because he really enjoys doing theater and working with other people and the collaborative aspects as well.
Yeah.
Boy, that kid has a presence on
terrific.
stage and off stage.
Gee, I wonder where he gets
I
that,
wonder where he gets
Shawn.
that
Oh
from.
my
Almi.
gosh.
No, he's a
He's
Shawn.
fabulous.
Someone saw him in Guys and Dolls,
Yes.
and they said, Shawn Clerkin's in Guys and Dolls?
Not unless it's the octogenarian version of it. Yeah. Although you're older than me.
I know
so,
I'm older
yeah,
than you.
Not by
Yeah.
much. Not by much.
Hey, my favorite thing was I got to know Bob Martin a little bit on the show.
That's good.
And Bob
best.
blew my mind and said, I was the lead in Baby. So we're talking mid 80s,
Yes.
40
which
years ago,
that
yeah.
show, I loved that show. Becky Priestap was in it. Becky Hess.
Becky
Right.
Moran was
Yeah.
in it.
I mean,
Oh my
what
God,
a
it was a
great
great
show.
show.
Great
Nasta,
music. I
yeah.
love that music. And Bob said, oh, yeah, I was the lead. I'm like, crap. I can't believe it.
Bob's
You
been
know.
there since he was Tony in West Side Story the
Yes.
first time they did it.
I think so.
In the
Yeah.
early
In the
70s.
70s.
Right.
Yeah. So that's just it. The generations that will continue to support, and that's Erie. I mean, that's
Right.
Erie in a nutshell. The Playhouse is a good example of that, and a lot of the theaters are. So,
And it might
the
be
arts.
and there might be times where there's more and more people involved, but other times where you just it almost has to go through cycles like that. You know, you
I
almost
would
have
think.
to have to let that happen.
Talk about, again, I think one of the things that the arts and culture have taught us is being more accessible. I love the concept of public art, that art doesn't just belong in a museum and we have to go pay a ticket so we can go see it in a museum. It's there, it's in front of us.
Absolutely.
Everything from fish and frogs to, a huge fella that's on the side of Methodist Towers. Right?
Art has to be experienced by an audience. You have to have somebody there to engage with it. An artist doesn't do anything for themselves. They always do it with the intention of either sparking conversation or sparking a smile or sparking a frown or something. But it's always communicative. You know what I mean? And so artists, we rehearse to an empty theater, and then people show up, and it's no longer rehearsal. It's now performance. And it doesn't matter whether there's 5 people there or 5,000 people there. For us, it's just that's kind of what we do, and we get energized by the opportunity to share our talents and our skills.
And we're also very good when we get to collaborate with other artists and organizations. And that's fun that Erie does that. When we get to be with the Philharmonic, right?
Right.
And we perform on stage there. And we're in front of 2,000 people, which that would take us 4 performances at the Playhouse, right? Maybe
Yeah.
5 now, because we got our seats are a little different. But yeah, it's just so much fun to be in these different spaces too. And even all the theaters are all so different.
Right.
The ballet company is so different, but it's
and it
so
is a
fun
treat
get
when
to
you
do.
see a Playhouse regular go to PACA or go to Drama
Yes.
Shop. I mean,
yes, and
or vice versa,
right?
right?
To share the artists and also the producers, the directors, the designers. Yeah, it's great to see people moving back and forth like that.
And they're at most of the high schools too.
Right.
So
People, I keep forgetting that, but we have a pretty. I mean, again, we came up in college theater.
Right.
I came up in high school theater. I mean,
Right.
She was Godspell. She was Jesus.
right, yeah, that's the only role Shawn and I have shared.
Right. So far.
Yeah. But
Day by day. Is it time to start singing Day by Day?
That was my solo in
Wow.
God's
Are you serious?
Yeah, I did Day by Day.
Oh my God.
Well, start us off, Shane.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's
have a guitar?
What's
Do you have
the
a guitar?
note? What's the note? What's our key? No, I mean, you think about that, and Shady goes to all the high school shows.
All
and,
of them. I still go to all the high school
That's
shows.
wonderful.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's
And you,
amazing.
I
and you
love
think
it.
about like who's running those shows, right? And so guys like the fellow that played Benny, Rusty. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he's at McDowell.
Seth. Yeah.
Yes,
Seth,
that's
yes.
McDowell with Brett and
Well,
Right.
Casey's at what
Casey's
school?
at
In elementary
at
school?
the middle school. like-
Middle school?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
In
Ryan
Mill Creek?
Ingram. He's
Ryan.
up northeast.
Yeah.
Art Martone,
Art
still
Martone.
running
Oh,
Mercyhurst
yeah,
Prep.
that's right.
The legend.
Yeah.
At Mercyhurst Prep.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Wonderful.
We
we were married when we were 14 and 15.
You and Art?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was Dorothea, and he was
You
one
were.
of the quartet. He gave me my
For-
name.
For Music Man.
Music Man.
That's where we all met.
Yeah.
That was
Peggy and Almi and
And that wasn't the
Lisa
the student
and-
summer theater program.
Yes, it
That
was.
was the student summer theater.
That
Again,
was great a program.
talk about a program
Yeah.
that no barriers. Everybody's in.
Right.
I mean that's that's moving.
Yeah.
That's right. It was powerful.
And
it
it's
was
still
beautiful.
going on, which
Yeah,
is
it's still
nice.
Going on. Right.
It's still going on.
Under a different
Hats
name.
off to Dave Mitchell and all the folks
Yes.
after
Yes.
him. And,
Right. He's a good
and
guy.
of course, our beloved Jim
Schneider. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Gosh. Yeah, he hired me to do it. I did it 1 year as a
did you
transition
really?
after I graduated from Vienna before I went off to grad school, and directed Hello, Dolly. And I remember walking in the very first day, and I was used to working with 12 or 14 kids at Gannon, and I walk in and there's 75, 80 children,
Always,
ages third grade through graduation, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have the patience for this. But so many of them had done it before that they actually kind of taught each other how to behave and how to rehearse and how to get it done.
Did your dad used to tinker around at Tech too?
Well, my dad started it with Jimmy Schneider and Bob. What was his last name? Ekimoff from the city.
Yes.
Yeah, and I remember one time we were doing Little Mary Sunshine.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And so I had a part, and my dad said to Jimmy, he goes, well, Elmi's in the dark. You know what? This is a Mama Rose moment here. Mama, Elmi's in the dark. And Jim Schneider goes, Alex, I only have one spotlight. I can't spot anybody else.
Right.
The next day they had a new spotlight.
Is that right? Oh my gosh.
So my dad tinkered, but he was really good at getting stuff.
And he did that for everybody.
He did, everybody.
gosh.
Yeah.
We've been remiss to talk about, some of the great directors that we had at college. And believe it or not, just the last couple weeks ago, Monsignor McSweeney was here in the studio.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm just thinking, what a great guy. And, Nicholas Nickleby, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
And his performance in that show was amazing. The whole cast was great, but
They were.
it was extraordinary.
And who else directed back in the day? Did Rubino direct?
Rubino did direct on it. Father Monsignor Rubino did direct a few times.
He did Man of La Mancha when Sal was in it at Gannon. So my brother was in it. Yeah.
And Alex directed there.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Ben
We were
Agresti, of
in
course,
Sunshine and Afterwards.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he wrote. That's right.
Yeah.
And I
wrote
still
a
sing
song
those
too.
old Cole Porter
Oh,
songs.
they were great. They were great.
Yeah.
With
We were lucky. We really
we were-
all.
we were
anyone
very
that
fortunate,
does
yes.
theater is really quite lucky. I think.
I think so.
I think, and we do it because it's our hobby, right? I mean, that's why we do it. I mean, when you talk to somebody,
But you were able to make a living.
I did, yeah. That's rare. I
And
mean,
so were you.
in this,
Yeah, there were many times in the
Yeah.
90s and 2000s when we looked at each other and we went, it's so strange to get paid to do what we love.
Yeah.
That's not a common story for people. And we were always very, very blessed to be able to say that.
I've got
Right.
about 2-3 minutes here. I want you to talk about future. What does this year look like, and what do you think is missing in the arts community here in Erie, or what have you seen that we can aspire to?
Well, I think what's missing still, I think, is people thinking, well, no, I'm not going to go see that. I don't want to see. I wish everyone would try to go see theater. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go watch, a car race every weekend, but I would go to one to see what it's like. So I'm hoping that people take opportunities that they haven't taken yet.
And what's cool about, let's say, for example, the Playhouse's season is that if you know Shawshank as the movie, it's a whole different take as the theater.
Completely different, yeah.
But again, what an astounding performance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and here's, I'm going to take it on from a different tack too. Is I think that one of the things that art is always trying to do is challenge us to think outside of our box. But I think what's coming up this year, I think, is not just a challenge, but also the hope that something different is coming. I mean, I'm a the glass is 1/8 full kind of guy, and I know I'm a Pollyandy and I'll own it. But I keep thinking that I keep looking at the current situation and where things are going, and I think there's a hopefulness, and hope is different than wish. A wish is like, I wish I had $1 million. Darn it, I don't got it. But hope is, I'm hoping for this because I expect to get it. And so I think right now there's a sense of hope that's just kind of shining through a little bit, and I'd like to believe that that's coming
And
through.
enjoy the experience of that, too.
Oh gosh, yeah. And just enjoy the
Go on.
conversations. But I'm very hopeful for a lot of things that are happening in 2025.
That's
Yeah.
super cool. It's just, again, joyful
Thanks
conversation.
for the invite.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, and for everything that you think about the investment that you've made in people's lives, and not just young people, but your peers and older folks too. Joy that has come. Shawn, I still, again, I get weepy when I think about your performances in Les Mis. I mean, talk about, that had to be quite the experience for you.
Always,
as almost like a marker in your life.
I think for all of us, for any of us, when we know we are given gifts and that we have the opportunity to actually use them, and for those gifts then to be used and then also be transformative in other people's lives, I think that's certainly a gift that all artists appreciate. Yeah. For sure.
Father Shawn Clerkin, Almi Clerkin, thank you guys.
Thanks,
Happy New
Joel.
Year.
Thanks, Shani.
Happy 25.
Happy New Year. 2025 is going to be a great year.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.